mention a couple of things about the classes. First of all, if you're thinking about taking the Prosperity Plus class, I'll remind you that not only do you need to sign up on the sheet to get the discounted rate, but you need to actually pay for the class to get the discounted rate. And the reason for that is we have to order the materials, and so we can buy the materials and ship them in all at once and get a lower shipping rate. If we have to order them one or two at a time later on, it costs us more to ship them in. That's the practical reason why we charge more after June the 1st. So make sure by next Sunday you've actually signed up and paid your money and ready to go for that. So, and it's a fabulous class. I already taught it once this year at my previous church, and Prosperity Plus One was great, but this is, yeah, like there was actually a little discussion on the minister's listserv just the last couple of days. This class is even hotter. So if you really want to ramp up your prosperity, and that's not just money, that's prosperity on all levels, go for it. And then secondly, as Reverend Mary mentioned, we have classes coming up in the fall, and one of those is the practitioner training class. And so if you've thought about taking practitioner training, you may have one or so classes left to go. Talk to myself, talk to Lori, talk to Reverend Mary. I actually can't talk to Reverend Mary because she's flying off to Europe here in a couple days. So, but let us know that you do have an interest in that, and we'll see what we can do to get you into that. So thank you. That's my announcements of the announcements. So our talk today is on dreaming big. Isn't that a great thing to contemplate? Dreaming big. I have a couple of quotes. One from a friend of mine that she just posted on Facebook yesterday. I don't know if she borrowed this from somebody or if it was her. She's a pretty wise woman. She said, if in fact we live in an expansive hologram, why are we so willing to live in such a tiny cubicle of existence? We are free people living happily enslaved. Ooh, doesn't that kind of say, I need to get out and expand? I like your idea of I don't have a date for that, and you have 30 people show up for you expand the possibilities of dates, and one of them worked out just fine, So I don't have a date for Memorial Day weekend either. I just want to mention that, and I am single. No. I don't think that Ed is ready for 30 people to show up at his house because I don't have my own house yet. So that's next weekend, and next weekend I will not be ready for 30 people to show up because I'll still be living in boxes. The second quote is from Ernest Holmes. He sort of gives an answer back to why are we living in this tiny cubicle of existence. He says, the only reason man is limited is that he has not allowed the divine within him to more completely express. You and me, we're the divine. How much do we want to let express? Yesterday I was having breakfast up at, I think it's the Country Time, is that the name of it up in Hilltop area? Country Kitchen, that's it. Good place. And the waitress was seating a couple guys at the table next to me, and there was some magazine they had that I think it was Cars or stuff like that, and so she was looking at it. She said, "Oh, I don't look in that anymore. I can't afford anything in there." And the guy said, "Well, you could dream." I thought, how telling. What's the consciousness? What's the consciousness we let guide us? See, a lot of us let our current circumstances dictate how big we'll dream. I can't afford it, therefore I'm not even going to look at it. I'm not good enough, therefore I'm not even going to consider it. We let our current circumstances and our current feelings dictate what we want and how far we go. And there's advantages to that. It's safe. We don't have to shift, we don't have to risk, we don't have to do anything. We can just stay right where we are. It's comfortable, we know where we are, we know the current situation, we know how to work it. We know how to work I can't afford it. We know how to work that lack of relationship or unfulfilling relationship. We know how to work that unfulfilling job. We know how to work it because we've been doing it for a long time in most cases, right? And so, thank you. But it keeps us stuck where we are. When we work with our current circumstances, which is literally that which is standing around us right now, it keeps us stuck right where we are. We look at that circumstance, we say that's all the farther I can go, and so we don't try more, and it's just like this little catch-22, back and forth. Our consciousness says, this is who I am, this is where I am. An alternate is to start that dreaming big, to start to have a vision, to start to pay attention to the vision, the divinity that wants to move through us, as Ernest says. There's risks with that. We might fail. We might have a dream, we might go for it, and it might not work out. Wow. Years ago, I was getting ready to do a bike ride called Ramrod up in the Seattle area, which is an acronym for Ride Around Mount Rainier in One Day. And Mount Rainier is about the size of Shasta. It's 14,000 feet tall, and it's the ride itself is 156 miles with 10,000 feet of climbing. And so it's not the sort of thing that you just sort of wake up one morning and decide that you want to do. And so the last month prior to it, I was back and forth between whether I was or whether I wasn't. I had a good friend who we were going to do it together, and I was beginning to get cold feet because I'd never done anything that tough before. I was backing out and then getting in and backing out and getting in and back and forth that whole month. And about a week or two before that, I happened to pick up a book on long-distance cycling and read something about it's better to show up at the start line and not finish than never to show up at the start line at all. Isn't that powerful? So we might fail, but even if we fail at getting our true vision, we'll grow in the process of going for it. And we'll get farther down the road than we would if we had not gone for it. Our vision will cause us to grow and change. It's not the lazy person's way out. The lazy person's way out is to just, I'm just here, I'm just me, I can't afford it, I'm just stuck here, I'm just this. That's the lazy person's way out. The person who wants to say, I'm going to grow and shift and change is the person who will listen to their vision. And finally, it will carry us beyond where we are. Wherever we are, it will carry us beyond. Now, here's the good news about that. We live in an expanding universe. Scientists tell us that physically the universe is expanding. And so physically the universe is expanding. That means the consciousness of the infinite is expanding in its expression. And we're part of that. So if we're not expanding with the universe, if we're not growing in our lives, if we're not moving and shaking and shifting and saying, how can I be more? Guess what? One of two things is going to happen. We're going to fall behind from where we are. And two, the universe is going to apply a boot in our rear end and move us forward eventually, sooner or later. As my friend Michael Beckwith likes to say, there's two ways of growing. We can either be pushed by pain or pulled by a vision. I've done both. I can tell you the second one, it's better. Everything in the universe follows that wonderful quote out of the Bible. It says, this too shall pass. Whatever you're in, this too shall pass. Are you ready to pass with it? Are you ready to move on? Are you ready to expand? And so we have a vision. We literally currently always have visions and dreams for every detail of our lives. Some of them are empowering and some of them are disempowering. Some of them keep us stuck where we are, and some of them are conscious and we grow from them. Some of them are unconscious and we still grow from them because we unconsciously have chosen somewhere in our lives to be more, to be whatever it is. But it's good to start to become conscious of that dream. The law is always working. Ernest Holmes, the law is always working. So whatever we're putting out, we're always manifesting something. So what do you want to manifest? Do you want to manifest greater expansion, or do you want to manifest staying where you are, trying to stay where you are, recognizing that it's ultimately impossible to do so? And so it's looking at what is it that I'm putting into the law? What is it that I'm saying to myself? What is it that I'm saying out there in the universe? Am I good enough or am I not good enough? Am I loved or am I not loved? Where am I? What am I doing constantly? A friend of mine, Reverend Andy Anderson, who's going to sing here in July, has a wonderful song that says, I'm always thinking, you're always thinking, but do we really think what we think about? Do we really think what we think about? So creation is always happening. And it can go one of two ways. We're either recycling what already is in our lives, where you're taking it all and just kind of shuffling it around. We're creating from our own current consciousness. The waitress was creating from her own current consciousness. She won't even look at something to dream bigger. Have you noticed that when you start to dream big, it motivates you? You're willing to do something? The example in the Joyous Living Journal that they use is John F. Kennedy, President John F. Kennedy, when at the beginning of his term, he declared that we were going to put a man on the moon by the end of that decade. Now, we had barely launched a satellite at that point in time. But he had this big dream. And what it did was it motivated people. They said, okay, well, if we're going to do that, if he says we're going to do that, we better figure out how to do that. And so all of a sudden they started doing something that up until then had been impossible to the human race. And they found a way. And that's the something new. Are we going to open to something new? Are we going to listen to Spirit and say, okay, outside of my consciousness, outside of what I'm used to, outside of my normal everyday life, what's the vision that really wants to come through with me, come through for me? If I'm not looking at the circumstances and saying just how to fix it, just how to manipulate it, just how to problem solve it, what is it that I really want in this area of my life? What would I love to have? That's a question. What would I love to have? Take a breath and breathe that in for a moment. We're going to do an exercise, a process in a minute here, where you're going to get to work with that question and play with it. So dreams engage the inner spirit and they engage the heart. They don't engage the left brain. They engage the right brain, the spirit, the heart. They keep you awake at night, getting excited. How many of you have had a big dream that's kept you awake at night, getting excited? Okay? And for the rest of you, get one. Open up to one coming through you. When we dream big, we don't start from what is. We ask, what would we love? We shake off the chains of practicality. Most of us have been conditioned to live lives of being mature, practical. Do it the right way. While I was in that restaurant, I also noticed I had apparently a inspirational morning in the restaurant there. I noticed a family with 3 young children who was seated in the restaurant, and the waitress came over and gave coloring stuff to 2 of the kids. And she looked at the third one, who was a little bit older, and kind of like, do you want some coloring stuff? And I said, yeah. And I thought about that, and I thought about the conditioning of, aren't you getting a little old for coloring? What I noticed was she never offered the mother and father any coloring material. She didn't ask me if I wanted a coloring book. When did we stop playing and coloring? See, being into our big dream is being playful. It's getting out of the practical adult, let's do it this way, wear a gray suit and black shoes and carry a black briefcase and march in time to everybody else. Where are we being playful? Because the universe is a playful place, believe it or not. The universe. Now, the world, because we've kind of forgotten that process, oftentimes isn't a playful place, but the universe is a playful place. Have you noticed God has a sense of humor? Have you noticed? I certainly have. It's a playful place. I had a friend of mine, a minister, recently sent me a card. It said, always settle for more. Always settle for more. Most of us will say, well, I really want this, but I'll settle for this. And it really doesn't do, it may improve us a little bit, but it doesn't touch our heart. And if you've ever gone out and gotten a dream that touched your heart and really felt that, you know what it's like. In 1976, I went out and I bought myself a brand new bright red Fiat X19 convertible, sports car. It was a little red wedge-shaped mid-engine car. And every single morning when I opened that garage door to go climb into that car, my heart just went, wow, this is mine. Every morning for like 2 years. Now, I was used to new wearing off after a few months, but just every single morning, I mean, I was happy to sit in that car. I had a person I carpooled to work with, and she looked over at me and she goes, how do you stand driving this car? And I said, what do you mean? She said, well, all the guys look at you with envy, and all the girls look at you wanting to be in the car with you. And I went, first of all, I was totally oblivious to all that. But it was this thing that made my heart sing. I was happy with it. When we touch our dream, we settle for more. We don't have to know the how. This is what oftentimes holds us back from even going for the dream. Well, I don't know how to make that happen, so therefore I'm not even going to think about it. And ours is not the how. The how belongs to the infinite. The how belongs to God. Ours is the what. See, when John F. Kennedy said, we're going to put a man on the moon, that didn't mean he knew how to do that. He wasn't a rocket scientist. He was a politician. He didn't know how. He just had this vision. The Wright brothers didn't even know how to make the airplane flew. They kind of had a pretty good idea, but they didn't know exactly how because nobody had ever done it before. Henry Ford one time was on trial for being basically stupid. That's what it came down to. And some lawyer was trying to insult him and trying to ask, trying to challenge him for the questions that, and say, well, it's like you don't know anything. And he finally looks at the lawyer and he says, young man, he says, on my desk is a row of buttons. He says, I may not know the answers to these questions, but anytime I want to know the answer to that question, there's a button that I push, and a man who knows the answer comes running and gives me the answer. He knew how to get the information. He didn't have to know the information. We don't have to know the how. We have a button on our desk that is pushed to the infinite that knows how. Most of the time, we leave the button unpushed. I'm guilty too, by the way. We're all in this together. Ours to know is the what do we want? What is it that will make my heart sing? I don't have to know how to get it. Our dreams should scare us. Our dreams should be so big that they scare us a bit. When you're first looking to meet a person, when you're first looking for that relationship, it probably scared you a bit. No? Paul's a pretty scary guy. If we've been wounded in a relationship, it might scare us to go back. If we've fallen off the horse, it might scare us to get back on, but we do it anyways. It's one of those feel the fear and do it anyway. Our dreams should scare us a little bit because we don't know how to do it. We're going to have to get perhaps help from other people. We're going to have to get help from the divine, from the infinite. We're going to have to expand ourselves beyond where we know how to go right now. That's how a big and exciting dream is. Are you willing to play with that? Are you willing to play with that? Yes. That is not a rhetorical question. All right. So we're going to do a little process that's going to engage us in dreaming bigger. In just a minute, not quite yet, I'm going to ask Damien to put on a little bit of background music. We're going to do a closed eye process that'll allow you to kind of get in touch with that. But before we do that, I want you to think of an area of your life that you would like to experience significant growth or expansion or having a bigger dream in. Think of an area in your life. And if you're like me, what you might do is an area will come and you'll say, oh, no, not that area. Let's do this one over here. It's safer. Okay? No, I want you to go to that area. For me right now, it might be relationship. I got kind of burned, and I'm not sure that I want to, I have this, my practical side says, I'm good living by myself. I don't have to ever do a relationship again. Right? And the truth is, my heart would love to have somebody to share life with and love and be loved and all that stuff. So that's where I might carry the bigger dream. Where's the bigger dream that would scare you in your life? Where's the area that you have been putting off even feeling the bigger dream? That you would be willing to just take a look and see what's the bigger dream. Doesn't mean you have to run out after the service and do something about it. Just notice what it is. This is just a place to listen, to experience, to play with Spirit. So I'm going to invite us to have a little bit of music, quiet music. I invite you to close your eyes very gently and come to a point of being relaxed. Taking a deep breath in and out, and just let yourself relax into the chair. Feel the support of the chair underneath you. Let yourself just relax into that chair. Just sink into it. And imagine now that you're relaxing into a field of deep, infinite love. Deep, deep love. And this field of love is also a field of infinite possibility. Infinite possibility. Where anything can happen, where anything can be, and you get to guide that. Breathe that in. You don't have to be practical. This is a time to let your child play. What would I like to color in the book of the universe? And so into this field of infinite presence, into this field of infinite love and infinite possibility, you're going to float a question. And that question is, what is the highest or biggest idea about this aspect of my life? What is the greatest, highest, biggest, most divine idea about this aspect of my life? What is the dream that really wants to come forward? What is it that would make my heart sing? Imagine that. Notice what it looks like, what it feels like. Imagine yourself immersed in that right now. Perhaps it's a deeper love than you've ever known. Perhaps it's a more vibrant, healthy body than you've ever experienced. Maybe it's a more fulfilling career than you've ever known before. Perhaps it's a deeper connection to the infinite. Maybe more money than you've ever known. But just imagine what that's like. Let yourself imagine that you're fully engaged in it. You don't have to figure out the how. Just be in it. Breathe it in, breathe it out. And now whatever that is, double it. Make it twice as big, twice as deep, twice as powerful. Let it expand. Notice what that feels like. If any little barriers come up that say, well, this might be too much, let that go. And include being able to handle that much as part of your dream. And now double it again. Let it move out beyond the boundaries of what you could possibly believe possible. Just remember that the universe is bigger than that still. And you're one of the universe. How much good can you let through from the universe? How much good can you let through you? Are you willing to let the blocks dissolve and get out of the way? So now, without letting go of that full dream, without letting go of the expanded version, find yourself a place within that spectrum of that dream, of how much good you can let through, where you feel comfortable at the moment. Something that's beyond where you are now, but something that's not so wild that you can't even imagine it. Allow yourself to find a place where you can come and say, I can handle this today. It's bigger and more expanded. And I recognize there's more to go. And this is what feels good and comfortable right now. And let yourself be in that for a moment. And notice what that looks like and feels like. Let that dream infuse your being. Let it be in every cell of your body. That you are the person who is living this right here, right now. And it is living you right here, right now. And very gently now begin to bring yourself back to this room with that expanded consciousness. Very gently, as you're ready, be aware of the chair that you're sitting in, the room you're sitting in, and gently open your eyes and be fully present back here. Do you feel a little more expanded? This is yes. This is no. Yes. So this week, your homework is to echo. This week, your homework is to practice expanding your mind. This week, your homework is to practice stretching that out. Imagine it, play with it, dream. You don't have to figure out how to make it happen. You don't have to do anything about it. Just play. Remember what it was like when we were kids and we just played? We imagined all sorts of things. We didn't have to figure out the real reality of it. Imagine yourself in the dream you want. Let yourself play. This is a holiday week. It's appropriate to play this holiday week. So let yourself play. Let yourself expand. Let yourself contemplate this, what my friend Megan said. If in fact we live in an expansive hologram, why are we so willing to live in such a tiny cubicle of existence? So let that cubicle get bigger. Let that cubicle expand. Even if it's just that much, let it expand and play. I invite you to make it like a whole lot more. Let the cubicle expand. Let the divine come through you completely. I'm going to close with another quote from Ernest Holmes. Since we are dealing with that which is limitless, knowing no big and small, no big and no little. See, God doesn't have a big and little. That's us. We assign big and little, don't we? Remember I think it was the second Star Wars movie in the order that they came out in, where Luke has sunk his jet plane into whatever it was, into the swamp, and Yoda is trying to get him to lift it out, and he's going, it's too big, it's too heavy, I can't. And Yoda finally just walks over, little Yoda, and just goes, and the thing comes up, and he says, there is no big and there is no small. The universe doesn't have those distinctions. We make them. And we make them based on our conditioning. We make them based on what we were told is big and small. I one time was in a small group, one of those sacred circles that we're starting to work on forming here. And we were working on prosperity. That was the actual theme of the circle. And a bunch of us all were going to pray for, and we wanted like a few $100 more, $1,000 more. And there was this one guy in the circle that said, by the end of the 7 weeks, I want $250,000 more in my life. And what we knew about him was, by the way he spoke, that was his vision, that was his normal. He had a business that he wanted to sell that was worth $250,000. This was a guy, by the way, who had to miss one of the meetings because he and his wife were having lunch or dinner with Bill Clinton in the White House. Okay, so that's their paradigm. His paradigm stretched everybody else's paradigm. His normal, somebody said, ooh, we're playing too small. Because there was no difference between this guy and us. He had 2 legs and 2 arms and a head and all the stuff, just like we did. But he just had a vision of playing bigger. By the way, he got his $250,000 by the end of the 7 weeks. And by the way, it came in a completely different way than he expected. He did not sell the business. But he suddenly came in last week and he says, I just realized that I had a tax savings that on something, I forget how he explained it, but it's something that he saved taxes. And he says, I realized that by the time all the tax savings accumulated out, it was $250,000 I saved on not having to pay taxes. So he got his vision, not in the way he wanted. And that's the key for us. When you have your big dream, don't tell the universe how to make it happen. Because you and I don't know. The universe has bigger ideas. So this week, play with that. Since we're dealing with that which is limitless, knowing no big and no little, the possibility of our demonstration rests not in the principle that is not in God. The possibility is not in God. It's in our acknowledgement of and embodiment in it of the ideas we desire experienced? Can we acknowledge and embody the ideas that we want? Will you dream big enough and make it real enough for you that it will become your reality and you embody it? So that is your homework this week. Dream big and feel what it's like to experience it. That's all you have to do. You don't have to figure out the how. Are we good? All right, let's pray. So I know that there is that one, the infinite, vast, way beyond our concept, presence. It goes by names that are way beyond our concept. We call it God, we call it Allah, we call it Buddha mind, we call it the Tao, but it is way beyond all that. We talked a couple weeks ago about the Hubble telescope looking into a piece of blank space and finding 100 billion new galaxies. And it is way beyond that. That is who we are, because we are one of it. That field of vast, infinite possibility, ever expanding, ever growing, ever becoming more of itself, is who we are. We can never stop being that. We cannot use it, but we can never stop being that. And so I speak my word that each of us this week says yes to this vast, infinite possibility, big love of who we truly are in a way that is greater than we have ever said yes before. That we are willing to take the limits off, and we are willing to get out and play and color, and not only color, but color outside the lines, outside the box, outside the book itself, and go play in the universe. And manifest good beyond what we have ever imagined in our lives before, knowing that whatever good we manifest blesses us and blesses everyone around us. Because that is the nature of God. It is a win-win-win. And so we just simply let ourselves play. We let ourselves be the magnificent beings that we truly are. We stop being so practical and so correct and keeping inside the dots and playing it safe. We get out and we take a risk. We wear clothing we've never worn before. We dream dreams that we've never dreamed before. We talk to people that we may never have thought of talking before. We do something different. We get out and play in this universe. We let that aspect of us that knows how to do this guide us. We say yes to the infinite that we are. And out of this comes so much good that we can simply be in gratitude. In gratitude, deep, deep gratitude for how much good we manifest. Because when we start playing like this, the universe just opens up and it just gushes in. And we're going to be sitting here going, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, thank you, thank you, every moment of every day. And that is the consciousness that I know that we embody. And so we let go of the how it has to happen. We turn that over to the infinite. We let it be. We let that universe. Oh, and I should probably unmute myself. It's not you guys this time, it's me. Am I on? Am I on? Testing 1, 2, testing, hello. Better? Okay, I'm green up here. I'm green with envy. I'm green because I'm looking at this chocolate in here that Mary left to tempt me. This is a distraction. I can't face it. Am I on? Because I'm on up here. Yeah, there we go. Good. Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Memorial Day weekend. I don't have a joke. Our talk today is about dreaming big. And So it's expansion. I love the Dream Girls for assembling to become the Dream Girls for this one special service. So thank you so much for doing that. Are you normally the Rolling Crones? Was that part of the Rolling? Got it. Okay, yes. They've evolved. That's our theme today. We're growing and becoming more. We're evolving. A quote from a friend of mine: if in fact we live in an expansive hologram, why are we so willing to live in a tiny cubicle of existence? We are free people living happily enslaved. Ooh. Ernest Holmes answers that question by saying the only reason a person is limited is that they have not allowed the divine within them to more completely express. We don't allow the divine within us to completely express. See, I hate that reading that Damien did today. I hate it. I picked it, by the way. But I've been whining for the last couple of weeks. Those of you who are on Facebook with me know about the heat. It's oppressive.
Just wait.
And then I get that. I get lots of just wait. And so I've dreamed big, and I've decided I'm going to actually move to Eureka and commute. I'm going to get a helicopter, and we're going to build a helipad out here. I think that's a good idea. Don't you think that's a good idea? Okay. We can dream whatever we want. Anyway. But yeah, we oftentimes put our desire for our good outside of ourselves and make it dependent on somebody or something else. And as the reading says, that is the height of, what does it say, creating stress and discomfort. Anybody besides me? Yeah. So taking a breath, letting that go. We've all done it. We've all been guilty. So we've heard about dreaming big. In the first service, we actually did a process, and if you want to experience dreaming big, I invite you to get the CD or watch it on the internet on our website, because we're not going to do that process this time around. We're going to talk about how to embody that dream. But we did a process of dreaming big, and most people won't dream big. We don't let ourselves, because we have cut ourselves off from that part of ourselves, our heart center, our spiritual nature, that wants to dream and expand and be more and play and be children in the universe like we really truly are. Instead, we get to be adults, and we're all proper, and we don't mess around too much, and we just keep it together, because we don't want to look stupid, do we? And we don't want to look foolish, and we don't want to especially possibly fail if we say start for a dream. Anybody besides me? We're afraid to dream because we might be disappointed. We're afraid to dream because what if it doesn't work and I'll look stupid? See, Mary could have just sat there and said, well, I'm just going to feel lonely this Memorial Day weekend, at the time all this years ago. It's them there outside. But instead she did something. She said, I'm going to invite people. It could have been that nobody could have come. And then she would have felt even worse, right? But instead, 30 wonderful people show up. By the way, I'm single, and I don't really have any plans this Memorial Day weekend. Ed? The house is open, right? No, I'm just teasing. I'm just teasing. I also we don't have that much food in the house for 30 people either. But we are afraid of failing, and so we sometimes don't take the risk. And that holds us back from our dreaming big. What I also want to talk about, though, today is that to get in touch with the process of dreaming big, to get in touch with making those dreams reality. So visioning, which we do oftentimes here, we do it the first Sunday of every month out at 8 o'clock in the meditation pavilion. Reverend Sue leads a visioning for your life. What is Spirit's vision? What is the bigger vision for my life? And I invite you to play with that question, to play with that idea. What is the bigger idea for my life? Because no matter how big your idea is, guess what? God's got a bigger one. Better. More fun, too, by the way. So what's the big idea for my life? But we oftentimes have this little process where we kind of misunderstand, once we dream big, what we do next. And I remember the movie The Secret when it came out. How many people watched The Secret? And The Secret, it sounded so good, didn't it? You just paste a picture on your wall, you say a few affirmations, and voila, you got it. Right? That's how it works, isn't it? It worked for all of you, right? It didn't for me, but, you know, we sometimes think that that's what all we have to do. Raymond Charles Barker, who's the fabulous minister, founder of the International Movement, has this wonderful book called The Power of Decision. It's one of my favorite quotes. You probably hear this from me every once in a while. In my years of counseling, I have found that only those who really want what they want, enough to decide that they shall have it, will get what they want. How's that for a statement? Only those who want what they want, enough to decide that they shall have it, will get what they want. The others mutter at me that great statement, with God, all things are possible. They expect me to agree, which I do, but their concept of this statement is that it will be done unto them without any effort on their part. This is one of my favorite sentences. They expect their half-thinking to be rewarded by a whole result. They expect their half-thinking to be rewarded by a whole result. This is a spiritual and mental impossibility. Those who have actually decided to have what they want do not expect special favors from the universe. They are ready and willing to think what they want long enough to get what they want. They are not afraid of the good, solid mental work of believing. They know that there are no miracles. Ooh. It does take the good, solid work of believing to let the decision become the fact. The possibilities of the infinite mind are the possibilities of us. But we have the job of accepting one of the many possibilities, deciding upon it, and believing in a clear-cut way that it is done. God's work is to produce ideas. Man's work is to accept them and work with them in the way that I have outlined. It is the only way of success. What are the ideas that you are accepting? I love it, the infinite possibility. We have the infinite possibility of ideas, from poverty to abundance, from sickness to vibrant health. We have this infinite possibility. Which ones do we choose? Which ones do we choose? And if you want to know, as a friend of mine says, look at your life. You can't hide the secret of what you're thinking because it shows up as your life. Take a breath. So how do we do whole thinking? Ernest Holmes says that we experience duality because we believe in duality. Most of us were raised in a culture that says that there's good and bad, us and them, this and that. There's a God out there and a devil over here. There's a heaven up there and a hell down there. Duality all over the place. We don't see it as a union. You know, I love it. This area, I keep hearing every once in a while, they want us to secede from the Union and form the state of Jefferson, right? You know, we're going to succeed because we're not part of them over there. There's Northern California and Southern California, and then there's Northern California, which we're a part of. We're the good guys. And so, all this stuff. You know, I grew up in Oregon, and there was the Portland area and the Willamette Valley area, and then there was the rest of the state. I moved to New England. I thought, well, it's too small in New England to get much duality there. I mean, the states are, you know, you could practically throw a rock across most of the states there, you know. No, they have northern New England and southern New England. You know, so we have this process of duality. Now, there is individuality. There is the appearance of you and me. But underneath that, there's the oneness of you and I as one. We get lost in duality, and so we start to believe things like lack. We believe things like lack because we believe in lack. We believe things like dis-ease and sickness because we believe in the possibility of dis-ease and sickness. We believe in that our good is outside of us because we think that our good is out there somewhere and we don't see ourselves as the source of the good. A friend of mine says the law of attraction really is the law of radiation. When we understand that we are the good, that lives within us, we're not attracting it from out there, trying to magnetically pull it to us. We are radiating it out from within us, that which already lives within us. Your wealth lives within you. Your love, the love of your life, lives within you. Now, it may show up in the form of this and that out here, but it lives within each of us. Our health, our vibrant aliveness, the life energy of the infinite lives within us. It may show up as something happening out here, but it lives within us. And as we start to claim that, as we start to embody that, as we start to recognize that as our truth and stop believing the duality, stop believing the illusions of mind, we will start to experience more and more of that truth. Our life tends to disillusion us. How many people here have felt disillusioned at some point in their life? Yeah. And yet that's a wonderful process because we're living in an illusion, and what we really want is truth. We need to be disillusioned. The illusion needs to be shattered. And it gets painful when we're hanging on to the reality of the illusion as being reality. But he or she really was the right one for me. This job really was my right job. My money is my source, whatever. As long as we are hanging on to that reality, the universe and the consciousness within us, it's not a universe that's out there, it's the consciousness of who we are, the universe within and as us, that is constantly expanding, constantly saying, remember who you are, wake up, remember who you are, wake up, remember who I am. That is shattering this illusion. We keep outgrowing our smallness. And so that barrier, that boundary that was talked about in the reading has to shatter because we can't contain, we're no longer within that container. And sometimes it's painful. But what we do as we step out of it, as we step through the pain, as we move past it, we realize we've stepped into something more. Because many of us, once we've been disillusioned, down the road, look back and say, man, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm so glad I'm not stuck in that situation anymore. You know, we were talking about Mary Manamorsey. She had, as some of you know, a big, massive church that was very vastly successful and completely collapsed in on itself due to some financial stuff. And as she said, she went down the road with claw marks down the road trying to hang on to that church. And finally, there was nothing she could do and she had to let it go. And she said today she's so happy that she finally let it go because she is more happy and more fulfilled doing what she is doing today than she ever was in the church. Some of us have had to let relationships go. Some of us have had to let jobs go. That we're so much, this is me, this is my identity, I identify with this. And when we finally let go of it, we finally find, wait, I am more than that. I really am bigger than that. Yes? So we have these illusions to let go of. Something outside of me is the source of my good. Something outside of me is the source of my well-being and happiness. Another illusion, someone outside of me is the source of my love. Another illusion, my body is an object separate from me with a mind of its own. How many of you have said the phrase, my body is trying to tell me, fill in the blank. You don't have to raise your hand. Your body can't tell you anything. As Ernest Holmes says, the body is an effect. Consciousness is cause. Our consciousness is trying to communicate to us through our body, will we listen? But it's our consciousness. The body isn't trying to tell me anything. It's a result. It's an effect. What is the consciousness? And do we use that mechanism to listen to our consciousness? Take a breath. I know I just stepped on a couple of sacred cow toes there, I think, right? But if we understand that our body is not separate from us, it is our consciousness' cause, and these illusions have to be shattered for us to see the truth. And the truth is that God is within me. Nowhere else. Well, everywhere else. But there is no me that's not everywhere else. There was a Zen master who was in the process of dying, and his disciples were all gathered around and weeping and moaning and crying. And he, all there around his deathbed, he looks at them and goes, "Why are you crying? Where do you think I'm going to go?" There's only here, there's only now, there's only one. We're it. God is within me. And if God is within me, then my good, any good that I can name, is within me. Oftentimes we look at it and we say, well, I want that red Corvette. I want that big house. I want this particular job. I want that particular relationship person. What we really want is what we believe that that car, that job, that house, that person will give to us. One of the things I encourage people when they're working with this is I say, okay, so imagine that you're driving down the road in your red Corvette. What are you experiencing? Imagine that you're in the relationship that you want. What are you experiencing? Imagine that your body is working perfectly and exactly the way you want. What are you experiencing? That is what you want to experience. That is what you're truly going for. That is the God quality within you that is calling for manifestation and expression in your life. And you start to focus on the quality of God itself that you want to manifest in your life, and let it manifest. And it knows how to do so. And maybe it does need to show up as the red Corvette, and maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's really something else that is calling for that you're being called forward to manifest. Find out what the quality is. What is the God within me that wants to express? So my good comes not by attracting, but by radiating that which is within me. When I get that it's all within me, all I'm doing is radiating out. You want to be more wealthy? Find the wealth that you already are. You're one of the abundance of the universe. Do you know that? Do you know that? Yes. And if you don't, imagine that you are. Be willing to let yourself know that you are. Somewhere within you, there's something that knows that, yeah, you truly are the wealth of the universe. You truly are the love of the universe. That is who you and I truly are. We are the radiant life energy of the universe. That is who we truly are. We've been playing way too small. I've never not been in love because I'm immersed in a field of infinite love. Now, I've had plenty of relationship breakups, but I've never been not in love. And I've had plenty of times that I thought I was not in love, that I believed that I was not in love, that I felt lonely and separate and all that stuff. And the truth is that I was never not in love because the infinite presence is pure love, and I've always been one of the infinite presence. Yes? Yes. I've never not been wealthy. What is it? Mike Todd, the film director, once said, I've been broke many times, but I've never been poor. Our money goes up and down, but the attitude, the consciousness, am I poor or am I rich? If I recognize that I'm one of the abundance of God, the money flow, what it looks like out here doesn't matter. And when we're in that attitude, what happens is more shows up. It keeps showing up. Because it has to correspond, and that's what we're going to talk about next, is it has to correspond to what I believe. So I am happiness. I am happiness. Say that with me. I am happiness. I am life, energy, and health. I am the wealth and abundance of the universe. Okay, say it like you mean it this time. I am the wealth and the abundance of the universe. I am the love of the universe. And so it is. So we start working with things that are not just wishful affirmations, but deep knowing. Ernest Holmes says that the saying of peace will not produce peace unless back of the word is a realization of the meaning of peace unless we understand that we truly are that. So we can say, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, I'm wealthy, and not have a single bit of belief about it. I'm loved, I'm loved, I'm loved, I'm loved. And not have a single bit of belief about it, but until we understand, excuse me, the back of the word, that within us is this already embodied, and that all we're doing is reminding ourselves because we've forgotten, and we're waking ourselves up, wake up, wake up. That is the consciousness of the universe. That is what we're doing here, is we are remembering and waking up. That is what the affirmation is for. One of my first affirmation teachers taught me that affirmations are lies you tell yourself until you believe them. I came to realize that he was wrong. Affirmations are truths that you tell yourself to wake up from the lies that you had been told or had told yourself. That's what an affirmation is. It's a reminder of the truth of who you are. So Jesus, when he said to the man, stand up, walk, pick up your bed and walk, Jesus had a concept that not only was there something out there that would respond to what he said, okay? So some people don't even believe there's anything out there that's going to respond to what they say. I know that's not you guys, but there are some people who do that. You've known them. But not only is there something out there that will respond, but that he had a mental equivalent, an idea, a clear picture of, and a knowing that the man would pick up his bed. There was no doubt. It's like the first chapter of Genesis where God says, let there be light. He doesn't say, God, I hope there's some light. Wouldn't it be nice if there was some light? I wish there was some light. It's let there be light, and there was. How many of us declare that powerfully what we want? Let there be this in my life. If you haven't before, try it. Jesus knew that there was something that would respond and that he had the mental equivalent of its response. We can believe in the infinite source, and oftentimes this is where we fall short. We do believe in the infinite source, but we don't have the mental equivalent of what that is like. Ernest Holmes defines a mental equivalent this way: having a subjective idea of the desired experience. That means it lives within our subconscious. That means it lives within us. It's not just a wish, it's not just a hope, it's not just an idea, it lives within us. See, we all have a subjective idea, a mental equivalent of the lives we have right now. If you want a life that is different in any way, that grows and expands from what you are right now, you have to have a new mental equivalent where that is your normal, and you are the kind of person for whom that is normal to have that life. Breathe. So that's what we're working with mental equivalence. Ernest goes on to say, as we bring ourselves to a greater vision than the range of our present concepts, greater vision than the range of our present concepts, we can induce a greater concept and therefore demonstrate more in our experience. This is why we do visioning. This is why we do the dream building. This is why we catch the vision of what is bigger, so we can start to feel it, start to embody it, start to say, what is this? If we're not even giving ourselves permission to ask that question, we will never see a bigger answer. We can never embody a bigger answer. And so we start to do these processes. We dream big. We believe our dreams. And that's the key, is we don't just dream big. Wouldn't it be nice if? We have to believe it. We have to believe that we are the people who are going to manifest that in our lives. We have to recognize that we are one of that infinite presence, that we get to say, let there be. And if we truly believe it, if we truly embody it, when we truly know it, it cannot help but manifest. See, that guy couldn't not pick up his bed when Jesus told him to. You ever have somebody who's walked up to you and said something to you and you just jump and do it? And afterwards you sit there and go, why did I do that? It's because the person commanded you from a power of authority. You can command the universe in exactly the same way. It will respond. It does respond. It has to respond. So we have to believe our dreams. We have to have the awareness of how they feel. We have to build a foundation. There's a wonderful phrase that says, it's okay to have castles in the clouds. That's where they belong. If you find that you've built your castles in the clouds, build foundations underneath them to reach up there. I remember when I first got here, I heard the story that some consultant came through here and told the leadership team that this church was built on sand, was the phrase used. And the leadership team basically said something that I won't say in church here, but it was a disagreement reply. And I remember Reverend Mary has told me the story, and what I got was that they got angry and said, "The heck with that. That is not the truth." This church, because they had a different vision. This church is not built on sand. Now, at the moment, to an outsider, it might have looked like it. At the time, the church, from what I understand, had some financial issues going on. They had some ministerial issues going on, and they had some issues going on. And to an outsider, taking a snapshot at that moment, it looked like, you could say, wow, that looks like it's built on sand. But the vision and the vision holders, the people who were holding the vision for this church, had a completely different vision and built the foundations that were necessary to keep that vision in place. And so today we have an even more thriving church than we had when that person looked at it and said it was built on sand. And sometimes we have to get ticked off and build those foundations and say, the heck with it, I'm building the foundations to support my castles in the sky. And so finally, we have to stand in faith. When we call our dreams forward, we have to stand in faith. And sometimes that gets to be challenging. Our old thinking will make it look impossible. A friend of mine says that when we go for what we really want, everything unlike it will show up for the purpose of healing and release. That's the good news and bad news. Everything unlike it. And what happens is that most of us will go, and the stuff that is unlike our dream will show up, and we'll sit there and say, oh, I guess I'm not meant to have that dream. I guess I shouldn't have shot that far. I guess I asked for too much. I guess the universe doesn't really want me to have that. No! What it is it's your old stinking thinking showing up for one last shot, saying, can I bet you believe me again? Can I bet you buy into me one more time? And you get to sit there and look at it and say, nope, been there, gone down that road, got the t-shirt, not going there again. You stand in faith. You stare it down and you walk it through. There were times in my last church that we had some financial issues in the last church, and it was a much smaller church than this, that we had to look and basically stare it down and simply say, this is not the truth. This church is a divine idea in the mind of God. I know that I, as the minister, am supposed to be here, that this church is supposed to be here, and so everything necessary will show up. And you know what? Every single time it did. Stuff would pop. But we had to look past what was in our face at the moment and say, we're standing here. We're standing here until what we need shows up. And that's the faith that you have to have when you go for your dream, is you stand in your power, you stand in your glory, you stand in the fact that you are the divine, saying what you want. You will watch your old thinking come and tempt you and tempt you and tempt you. These are the temptations of Christ. These are the temptations of Buddha. Every great teacher who has gone through that process has had those temptations. Let's go play small. And they say, get thee behind me, Satan, or get out of here for the dancing girls for Buddha, and whatever it was. So things will appear to go wrong, things will appear to hit the wall, and you will say, I'm going through that wall. There is no wall here. So you declare the most powerful truth you know. I can't tell you how many nights I've walked and paced the floor in the middle of the night because something is up in my life saying there is only one, there is only one, there is only one, there is only one. And when I say that long enough, stuff starts to shift within me. There's only one life, there's only one. When I start to remember that I'm an expression of God, God is all there is, and I am one of that one. Say it with me. God is all there is, and I am one of that one. God is all there is, and I am one of that one. God is all there is, and I am one of that one. And that's how you stand there and declare what you want. You get support. You get a prayer partner, you get a practitioner, you take a class. Our classes are all designed to remind you of truth and wake up. Take a class, get support. Don't do it by yourself. You know, I taught that Harry Potter workshop, and one of the things that Professor, one of those guys, taught was, whenever you're facing a boggart, don't face it alone. Whenever you're facing your fear, don't face it alone. Get help. Get support. So I want to close with a quote, two quotes actually. One is from Ernest Holmes. Anything you can dream of, and he puts this all in capitals, anything you can dream of is not too great for you to undertake if it hurts no one and brings happiness and good to your life. Got that? Anything. Got that? This is yes. Anything. Take a breath. Anything you can dream of is not too great for you to undertake. Never let anything cause you to doubt your ability to demonstrate the truth. And finally, that wonderful quote, oh, I hope I brought it with me. There it is. We've used it so often, or I've used it so often, and you probably heard it a lot, but I still love it, from Marianne Williamson. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light and not our darkness that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? Who are you not to be? You are a child of God. You are an expression of the divine. Your playing small does not serve the world, and there is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. Got it? Let them feel whatever they want to feel. The ones you want to play with will be inspired by you playing big. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Let's move into prayer. So I remember that I am one of that one, that there is only that one. There's only one infinite presence, and it is pure love, pure good, pure life energy. It is for us. It is in a conspiracy for its own good. It cannot be against itself. There cannot be a duality within a oneness. The universe can't be against itself. And so it is here, it is in the expression of its expansive good, ever expanding good, that is the nature of this one. Manifesting greater and greater and greater and more fabulous and more wonderful expressions of itself far beyond our imagination. And we are one of that. We're along for the ride. We are on a roller coaster of good, of great joy. And ultimately, it keeps on going up and up with no drop in sight. Unless, of course, you like the drops, then you can have one. But we are on that dance of joy. We are one of that infinite power. We are one of that infinite presence. We get to say, let there be, and there is. We recognize, and I speak my word, that we recognize that we are that within us is all that we are, all that we want, and it wants to express through us. And we say yes. We get our bloated nothingness out of the way of the divine circuits, and we let it flow through us to manifest a life and a light that is greater than we have ever, ever, ever imagined ourselves experiencing before and expressing before. We start playing in the infinite universe as infinite beings in an infinite universe. We let go of that small cubicle of existence. We kick out the walls. We knock down the ceilings and we say, I am free. I am God in form. And I choose to create a world that works for everyone, a world that works for all of us in the most beautiful, powerful, perfect ways possible. We say yes to that. And great gratitude for the good, for the delight, for the joy that comes from that, for each of us. Recognizing that our good is everyone's good because we are all one. And so in gratitude, we release these words. We don't have to figure out the how. We let go of trying to figure out the how to make it happen. We turn it over to where it belongs, and that is to the infinite mind, the infinite law that knows how to make it happen. We just simply say, let there be, and there is, and so it is. Thank you.